This is Introduction to Computers, Computer Science Course 1213. This is the worksheet on tracing. I'm Chris Rule. In this first page of the worksheet on tracing, there's a program written in Alice with Java type commands, and it's really poor the way it's structured. So I want to change that, change the way it's written. So I'm going to switch over to Alice. We're going to look at this and it'll help you with getting around in Alice a little bit, I think. So we've got a Alice program set up with two people in a room, much like it has on the worksheet, and we're ready to put in some code. And the first thing we want to put in is a variable. So I'm going to grab the variable at the bottom. I'm going to set it up as a whole number. I'm going to call it number as it has it on your worksheet. And I'm going to assign an initial value of 10 to that variable. Then I'm going to get another variable. I'm going to call it integer. It's also going to be a whole number, and I'm going to set it to 5. I'm going to get a third variable. It's going to be called increment, and it's used later on in the program. It's also a whole number, and I'm going to set it to 0 for now. Now, early on in the program, if you look at your worksheet, it has number and a left arrow and then integer. So I'm going to use the assign control, and I'm going to start with number, and then I'm going to pick integer as the secondary variable, and that gives me that line. Now, as we've learned already, the first thing becomes the second. The value of the integer gets copied into the value of the number. So number starts out as 10, but then when this line executes, number changes and becomes the value of integer, which is a 5. The next thing I want to put in is another variable, only this time we're going to make it a text string. It's going to be a string of characters. We're going to call it, as it has it in your worksheet, number string. And we're going to use custom text. And I'm going to type it in like they have it. The value of number is, and put a space at the end. And that's all you can do right here. Then I'm going to put in another variable, another text string, and it's going to be called integer string. And it will have custom text in it. As it has it on your worksheet, the value of integer is, and again, a space at the end. And then I'm going to put another text string variable in there. And this one will be called new number, as it has it in your worksheet. You may have to look through the code to find these, but they're in there. And then custom string, we're going to say the new number value is, with a space at the end. Okay. On these first two, number string and integer string, I need to attach the value of these whole number variables, number and integer. So I'll click the little down arrow next to the text and it shows this box that has the text plus something else. So I'm going to add something else. I'm going to add a whole number, and it's going to be the variable number. Then I'm going to click the down arrow on the integer. I'm going to click this text plus something else here, click the whole number, and pick integer. And now it'll be that each one of those will have the text and a space after it, and then the value that's contained in those two variables. That way, when I do the next line, which is a say, they'll say the right thing. Let's take a look. I'm going to pick thing 1, and thing 1 is going to say, so I'm going to drag that over. Thing 1 is going to say the number string, and we'll make it a duration of 1 so you have time to see it. And then thing 2, I'll pick thing 2, and thing 2 is going to say the integer string, also for duration of 1. And then there's a line that has the integer becoming what is contained in number. To do that, I use an assign control, and I pick integer and then number. All these lines are in the worksheet. They're just in a different order. So let's run it from here so you can see it. Hopefully you can see this window that comes up. Value of number is 5, the value of integer is 5, and that's all they do. Now the value of number is 5 because even though it starts out as 10, it gets changed on this 4th line to the value of integer. Now here's one a little more involved. We're going to assign increment. Now increment is declared, what we call a declaration up here, and has a value of 0. So now we're going to assign a new value of increment, and I'm going to set it equal to 1. So now increment is 1. But increment needs to be 1 plus the value of number. So I'll click on the down arrow by the 1, and there's an option down here that says math. You have all kinds of math things you can do. I'm going to have 1 plus something else, and that something else is going to be number. Now this is an important step because you'll use this whenever you need a counter in a loop or a do while. You could use it there as well. So this is going to come up in subsequent programs. So pay attention to that. Now once that increment has been changed, now we need number to be whatever increment is. So I'm going to assign number to be increment. Now please notice this third text string doesn't have a value after it. It's just a piece of text, because I knew that I was going to get a value for it later in the program. It has a value now, so I need to set it to have that new value. To do that, I get my new number, which is defined above as text, and I'm going to start with new number. New number becomes new number. That seems pointless, but that guarantees that I have this text here. The new number value is. That's what's in here. Now I'm going to change this one, and I'm going to add to it what's contained in the whole number number. So now instead of new number just being this text, new number becomes that text plus the number. So now I'll have the thing 1 and thing 2 say what these new values are. So I copied them to the clipboard, but I don't want thing 1 to say number string. I want thing 1 to say new number. And we'll have thing 2 say integer string. So let's run that. Value of number is 5, value of integer is 5, the new number value is 6, the value of integer is 5. I think I misspelled integer. I put an extra R in there. Let me fix that. So custom text. And I can come over here, take that out, hit OK. Value of number is 5, the value of integer is 5, the new number value is 6, the value of integer is 5. This is a much better way to write this program. I'm not sure why anyone would write this program, but this is a much better structure than what it had on your worksheet. So that's a way to use Alice. It's not really connected to the worksheet. So let's look at the worksheet itself. Down here we have a column called stack and a column called heap. And there's nothing in heap, so we're going to look at the column called stack. We have number, integer, and increment, which are the 3 whole number variables. These 2 at the top, plus a little more than halfway down we have the increment right here. And they have initial values and they have current values. And remember, when you make an assignment, which is where you have these left arrows, these are all assignments. Well, this is a declaration. Things like number and increment, integer and number and integer. Those are assignments. Then whatever is written first is going to change. The value in it's going to change to whatever the value is in the second. The first becomes the second. So this third line, we have number becomes whatever integer is. Number starts out as 10, but then when it hits that third line, number changes and becomes 5. And down here, fourth line from the bottom, number becomes increment. Well, increment is 6, so number becomes 6. Now in the second model, model 2, we have this actual Java code, and we have types. World is a type, turtle is a type, integer is a type we've already looked at before. W is a variable, distance is a variable, T1, T2, T3 are variables. W becomes a new object, T1 becomes a new object, T2 becomes a new object, and distance gets assigned a value of 50. Then T1 moves forward, T1's a turtle, moves forward 50, because that's what's in distance. T3 becomes a copy of T2, and then T3 moves forward the total value of distance times 2. So here we have the variable and the variable, and so these are going to be variables down here. Over here you're going to have the types. So if we look back here, the integer just stays over here. There's no box for it. But look at what we've got here. We have a new world, a new turtle, and another new turtle. And these turtles, by the way, this is a new turtle in this new world. That's why there's a W there for a parameter. That's a parameter. Distance times 2 is a parameter. Distance is a parameter inside this line. So world, turtle, turtle. What Java syntax would tell you that you needed to create a box on the heap side? If you had a new object, then you're going to need a box over here on the heap side. At this stage in your programming, it's not that critical that you understand why. T3 didn't get a box because it's not new, it's a copy. Distance is always 50. So I'll leave the rest for you to do. If you have a problem with part of this worksheet, please email me. And that concludes this worksheet on tracing.